In this video I'm going to show you what you need to look at when you make your tactic. These are just a few quick points that may be able to help you understanding a little bit better how to make a tactic and to have the tactic actually work better. Now first of all, let's start at looking at your own players. Of course it's very important that your tactic translate into what players you have, what strengths, what weaknesses they have. A good way to do that when you don't want to use a custom tactic is just look at the little thumbs up. They would translate into your playing style. Now for this video I'm going to just take tiki-taka for example, and now we have the tactic. I just always click through. The formation you can change right here. For this squad my formation that I use is actually 3 strikers instead of 3 wingers, because that translates well on what players I have. For example, I like players as my strikers with good pace. As you can see, they all have decent pace, so that's something I like. Now let's start with the mentality. At the start is a positive. In the last few FMs I've noticed that the more attacking playing styles paid off, especially if you're playing against bigger reputation squads and you have a lower reputation, then they underestimate you. And if you play an attacking play style, then you have a chance to catch them off guard and win the game actually. So maybe just leave it at positive or go on attacking. But positive is a safe way to start. You could always change this a little bit depending on what enemy you have in front of you. Then if we go into possession, now for example I play with 3 strikers. That is fairly narrow, so I can use a little bit more wide because all 3 of them in the middle obviously doesn't work. So actually if you look into the tactics, most of it is just common sense. What do you want? How do you want to play? And just use those things that you would think would work and just make little tweaks in them. For example, pass into space. That means that the strikers, for example, will make forward runs. Now, like I said before, my strikers have a lot of pace in them, so that's definitely something I want to use. Play out of defense. Now, then of course it's important that your defenders have good passing stats and have good decision stats. This one. Then you can obviously use that, but if you have wingers, then maybe use focus playing on the left and on the right. You can use both. Sometimes you can use only the middle, underlapped overlapping. Don't really recommend using that unless you have, for example, a target man in the middle and you want your wingers to overlap or underlap. Then we have here the final third. Low crosses. Most of the time I just use mixed crosses because unless you have a really tall striker, then of course floated crosses is really good. But if they have good defenders, then it still doesn't work. Then we have dribbling. If you have good dribblers, makes common sense again, just to dribble less or run at defense, or just don't use any of them and just let them do it naturally. Then passing directness, much shorter. I would only recommend if your squad is fairly compact. Leave it at shorter or at slightly shorter. I don't recommend using direct passes because then you have a big chance of losing the ball more often, and the tempo at lower. Sometimes that's good. I usually have it at slightly lower like this. Time wasting I always have at never. Then if you go to transition, again counter press or regroup. If you counter press, obviously you can get the ball more often straight after you lose it, but it's more of a risk because your players may be out of position. So maybe just leave it at nothing, then they will do it a little bit of both. And when possession has been won, of course I have fast players, so I want to play them on the counter. I have players as well that can play really good, but on the counter is still a good possibility because if we have the ball for a little bit longer, then of course it's no longer a counter attack and then it will just play like normally. But if you just get the ball in midfield, for example, this is a really good chance to immediately get the ball forward and let your striker score. And I've got a few good, nice goals from that. Then goalkeeper, I don't use any of these because I don't see slow pace down. If you have low stamina or you want to get the rhythm out of the game, distribute it quickly. That's just opens up a window for more mistakes. So I wouldn't recommend that as well. And how to distribute it. Maybe target man, if you have good flanks, then of course flanks. The fence is a little bit risky, my opinion, and distribute over the fence doesn't work as well. I normally maybe take one of these two, and that works pretty well most of the time. You don't have to use any of these. Some of them, as you can see, you cannot take long kicks, and with this one you cannot do this. This one you can do all of them. So maybe just choose one and don't use these, then your goalkeeper can choose for himself. And then if we are out of possession, they can use your defensive shape. Now, if you go with a positive mentality, then I would recommend using a higher line. Doesn't need to be that high. One lower maybe, or like this and this one lower, that you have a little bit more space in between. Just look that your midfielders have enough stamina, because they are going to get tired otherwise, because they have a bigger distance to cover, obviously. Trigger press, of course, again, has to do with stamina. If they press all the time, then their stamina is going to go down very quickly. So maybe just go easy on that. Don't use it too much. With some teams you can do it, but I would just recommend slightly more often or more often. Prevent short goalkeeper distribution. I don't want that, because I have fast players, fast attackers, and I want them to distribute it short, because then they open up for mistakes and my attackers can get the ball and maybe score. It's happened sometimes, a few times as well. Tackling, I want a combination of both, so I don't use these. Step up, then of course you can get more offsides, but you open up for mistakes. If you don't have an offside, then the attackers of them are going to go through 1-on-1 on goal. So that's a little bit more risky. Drop off, then you just inviting the players into your box. If you have good defenders, then that's a possibility, and if you have a very low defensive line, definitely use this one. Pressing trap inside, outside, however you want to play. If you have strong midfielders, then use inside. If you have a tiny midfield like I have, for example, trap outside, but I don't use any of these. And cross engagement, if you have a good defenders or a good goalkeeper that get all the crosses, then invite the crosses. Then let them go to the outside and make those crosses. If you don't want the crosses, if you want them to play like there, you have small defenders maybe, then just stop the crosses. So just tweak these a little bit. And one more important thing that you maybe need to know, and some people maybe do know it, some people maybe don't. I always use, for my middle striker, I go to instructions and dribble more, shoot more often, and have passing directness on shorter, because then he passes less often if there are not the possibilities to pass that shortly. Then if you go to OK, then it should be right here. Yeah, it is right here. And if you now personalize this, then it will always be his thing. So that's one short tip. If you put him in the middle, it's personalized, and he has those things already. So this is a really quick, short guide of how to do the tactics better. Hopefully this helped you a little bit. If anything that you want to know in the next video, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Goodbye forever, old fellows and gals. Goodbye forever, old sweethearts and pals.